Good evening, class. Professor Collins here. I'm going to expand a little bit more on leadership here as I discussed in previous videos that leadership in any criminal justice study comes into play a very big role. And I kind of trying to give you the examples of say Cathy Lanier, who I think is very dynamic and almost a transformational leader, who kind of overcame a lot to become and be successful in a very tough town of Washington, D.C., Metropolitan Police Department. And Daryl Gates, who was, as I said, the last of the great traditional autocratic police chiefs. Like I say, he was the face of policing in the 70s and 80s. And he made, great achievements in law enforcement sense, but lost, touch with his community. Whereas Cathy Lanier kind of did both, and then has kind of moved that to the challenge of the NFL security, which is a challenging job, but I think she probably has a better job security and financially type of situation. But like I said, we'll go back to leadership, and I hate to say it, but not all leaders are dynamic. Not all leaders in police organizations are leaders. For whatever reasons, political, social, favoritism, or just self-promotion. In a lot of places, you have individuals who couldn't lead thirsty people to water, but they are, in executive leadership roles in police organizations, and that happens a lot of times where they have the resume, the education, the background. They get hired, and right before things go south, they leave and go to another agency, and because they've already been a police chief or a deputy police chief or some executive rank, they move forward and keep getting hired, and the pattern happens. Some leaders are out there are good motivational leaders. They're good motivational leaders, they're good situational leaders. They inspire their people. They can be at the forefront in times of adversity. I think of some that I work for, especially in times of civil disorder or the tragic events of September 11, 2001. Man I have great respect for was a leader in the NYPD and was a great situational and motivational leader. Some are good community people. Some are good, they can get out and work with the community, and they kind of lose touch with the men and women of the departments, but they can work the political end of it and still be effective. Some are great administrators. They can run the department, they do the budget, they can deal with City Hall, but, they may not be all that inspiring. And, few, as I said, are transformational. Some type of individual who can go into an organization, turn it around for the better, move it forward, to obtain its goals and objectives. And and there are other challenges. Sometimes, you could be, as I said, the chief that I was thinking of, who was, very motivational, very inspirational, a good situational in tough times. He wasn't very innovative. He'd been in the position too long, and in his mind, what worked in the 90s still worked in the second decade of the 21st century, and it wasn't so. And it kind of led to some issues there. One of the presenters at the conference that I was at last week discussed his chief, who was the sheriff. Sheriff's Department down in Georgia, was the sheriff for 24 years. A very long time. Your effectiveness wanes on it. He said for the first 12 years he was the best leader he ever had. For about 6 years he was, cooling it in. And for the last 6 years he was a very angry person because he had been in that position for a long time. And as I said, your effectiveness leads. You kind of need to, so I would say, 5 to 7 years is about your shelf life. I'm also posting, as I said, about succession training. A friend of mine, Ronnie Mutterspew, is the chief of Middletown, Ohio. In southern Ohio, Middletown is in between the cities of Dayton and the cities of Cincinnati. It's a former steel mill town, about 70,000 people, 100-man police department. Has its challenges. He's And Rodney was the type of guy that was developed from the beginning. He's a homegrown, came through the department, through the ranks, got the training, Southern Police Institute, the formal training in the state of Ohio. He a number of assignments, both administrative, patrol, investigative, type of situation. Is he dynamic? In his own ways, yes. He's a guy who cares about his community. He's a very caring guy. We're going to print what the public information officer wrote about him, and he was said, I feel arrogant writing it. He's a very humble guy, good family man, very loyal to his city, very loyal to his department, and working very hard to reach out to his community. I know he's working tirelessly on the opioid crisis and the overdoses that are plaguing the areas of South Ohio and the city of Middletown and Hamilton County. So he's an individual I thought, when I was thinking of secession police, who can kind of come through the ranks. And, as I said, if you looked at him, he probably looks more like a basketball coach, a high school teacher, than he does as a dynamic police. But I think he's a good example of an agency that builds its leadership from within and develops them to be the chief. So I hope these are helpful, and as we look at Module 3 and leadership and move forward, and I'll be posting more resources and advice and information as we progress.